What's happening, everybody? This is Todd Wilson with another episode of Elevate Your Game. We got the head coach of St. Francis High School, Todd Wolfson, not to be confused with Todd Wilson, like a lot of you guys do. Look at your text messages before you send them, Coach.
How are you, man?
Pleasure to have you on the
Pleasure
show.
to have you. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I always get the text messages all the time. Hey, Coach, when's core practice? When's this practice? I'm like, nope. This is Todd Wolfson. This is Todd Wilson.
Well, you gave me one. A kid was trying to get to play without being cleared for injury this past week.
Yep.
It's been happening for literally 8 years now. It's pretty cool to see each other's business for no reason. So we'll start the show off. We look at our wall of hoop movies. What's your favorite movie up here and why?
And there's so many. I'm sure everybody says the same thing. Like, there's so many. It's hard to pick one. But the one that stuck out to me the most is Sunset Park. Like, Sunset Park for me, I was in high school at the time. Like, that was the movie right there. I enjoyed it. I thought, the scene for me is when she's running them up and down the court and she's sitting there eating licorice and they're running up and down the court and joking around. And me and my guys, like our high school guys, we would always have one-liners from the movie. And that was definitely my go-to right there with Sunset Park. So.
That's one of my favorites. I think it's a slept-on movie. A lot of people haven't even seen it. I don't think you grew up in our high school era. My favorite part is Terrence Howard. It's a young Terrence Howard, a spaceman in the movie, and they're doing wall sits, and everybody's doing it, and they're complaining, and you hear Terrence Howard in the background counting the clock down. One of the funniest movies, like 5, 4, just struggling through doing the wall sits. One of my favorite moments of that movie.
Great movie.
Sunset Park. What time is it? Awesome. So, here on the show, we just like to educate the basketball families, the culture. Do anything we can to elevate their game.
For sure.
Either inside the game on the court or outside the game with their character, with information, anything we can do.
Cool.
I know you have a pretty decent Twitter following because you're always tweeting and giving good information, not to only parents and people, but to coaches to help understand what you've been able to do. If you guys didn't know, Wolfson is a state champion.
Yep.
Two-time state champ.
Yep.
CIF?
CIF, we're 0-3, but been there a couple times.
Been there to the CIF. 2 state champs. Not too bad. Multiple Division I players, a lot of them playing overseas, and just been able to develop a lot of people, runs a tight system. You're known for just being very competitive in whatever you do.
Appreciate that.
A lot of respect for what you do. So what do you think? We have a lot of these discussions just in basketball. You're huge on just education for the parents and understanding the game more. What are 2 or 3 of the biggest factors that you see that parents should know in this day and age in hoops?
I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in the basketball world for parents. It's a tough street to navigate all the time. And I think just being educated, getting as much information as possible is extremely important. So that would probably be my number one, is like, get as much education as you can in terms of like, ask people that have been through it. It's as tough, I guess, as you want to make it, but it is a difficult, street to kind of navigate in terms of like, what team should my kid play for? Like, what things I should look for in an AAU coach? What things I should look for in a high school coach? What things I should look for in a middle school, coach? Like, these are things and questions that I think parents need to just get as much information and as much education as they can. A lot of times, and I completely understand, it's money decisions, right? Like, this is the best financially for my kid right now, or this is the thing that works the most. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not the best place to go, and that's not the best decision. It's finding that for your son, and every kid is different. I think that would be my number 2. There's not a cookie cutter mold of like, my kid's good as a 5th grader. How do I get him to the NBA? Right? There's not a one path, or how do I get him to college to get to that point, right? And I think that's the hard part, and I think that parents have to navigate is they look around and say and see, well, this kid went to this school and did this and did this and did this, and now he's got a Division I scholarship to go where he wants to go. That worked for him, but that might not work for your son, right? That might not work for your family. And there's a lot of intricacies and things that go into that, and you have to do what's best for your son, your daughter, your athlete that you're going to be coaching. So I think that's another important part to it. And the third one I would say is finding the people that surround your athlete is so important. Great coaches are important, but great people are more important, right? Like, surround yourself with good people. There's a lot of research now that's gone into, since the club basketball, football, whatever sport you're in world is becoming so big. There's been a lot of research recently that's gone into the success of youth athletes and what has taken thousands of athletes and why are these out of these thousands more successful than others. Sure, there's a lot of genetic factors and factors that go into it, but a lot of that was looked into in terms of that is the amount of role models that surround that athlete. And there's so much research being done into that. The more positive role models that surround that athlete, the more success they have. And I think that's a huge thing that parents need to look into is like, yeah, this person might be a great coach, but are they a good role model also? And finding that person who's a good coach and a good role model is even, that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So finding those kind of people is important for your athlete. So I think that's probably the three I would give you.
Absolutely, I like that. The people that surround the athlete. I have something from Brett Ledbetter's "What Drives Winning." He talks about the inner circle and the board of directors, and those two things are like that's what I tell families all the time. I tell the kids, hey, your inner circle is very tight.
For sure.
Stop letting other people influence your decisions.
For sure.
Board of directors are people you trust and who care about you, no matter if you're going to be successful at basketball than anything. They're going to help make those decisions.
For sure.
And starting that at a young age, especially with dealing with middle schoolers who have an opportunity to get to that next level. We try to create that early on. I think going back to even all three of those, how do parents get that information? Because right now we have examples like one of my best friends is a huge LeVar Ball advocate. And so that's the blueprint for him. Hey, he did it. His kids are in the league.
Right.
One for me, and I was blessed to be around him, it's Sean Holiday.
Right.
He also has 3 kids in the league who are, successful in their sport. And he did it a total different way. How do we discern what the blueprint is for our kid?
Right. I think, getting to know your athlete, your son, your daughter, getting to know them and kind of finding what works for them. Going back to a little bit of that of like, LeVar Ball did it a certain way and it worked out for his kids, but that's such a unique situation. I think, whether it was genetics or whether it was hard work or whether it was a combination of probably 10 different factors that got those 3 boys to where they are today. I mean, I think a lot of it, that's a very special and unique circumstance. But I think, having those opportunities and getting parents to understand that there is paths for everybody. Having parents understand that, there's not a road for each kid that's to get that way. So finding the education, listening to certain people who you trust, listening to people who have been through it, I think is important. I had a family that was kind of concerned about what club team to play for. Their son is a 10th grader, and he's getting attracted from club team after club team, and people are reaching out to him from universities and things like that. And the parents that wanted my advice. One of the things I told them too was I have a couple players who have now gone through the same thing. They're now in college or they've graduated from college, played in college XYZ. Go call them. Here's their number. Find out what things they liked. They played for this team. They played for this coach. They played for this program. Did they enjoy it? Did they like it? Go ask and try to get those experiences. I think that's important. That's a firsthand experience. That's an unbiased experience. They have no skin in the game. And I think talking to people that are unbiased is important as well.
No, like seeking out someone who has done it already or whose parents have gone through it already instead of your friend circle who think they know how to do it or a kid who has a large Instagram following and looks like they're doing everything they're supposed to do.
Right.
Could be their first time. They could just be really good at marketing and the social media part and whatever it is. But finding those people and just reach out to a coach. I think that's the biggest thing is that you have access to thousands of coaches on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can figure it out. And coaches love to tell you how to get better.
100%.
Like it's literally our job. And so I think that's super important for parents to start seeking advice and get into situations where people have done it before. Stop trusting your gut. Whatever it is that you do, we will follow you and your opinion about it probably. But this is what we do.
Right.
So help yourself, help your kid to the road to least resistance to try to get to where you want to be.
That's exactly the point. Yep.
I love that. That's I think that's so important. So we've discussed this multiple times.
Okay.
Reclassification.
Yep.
And your thoughts about reclassification. Core prep started with 8 kids who reclassified.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an opportunity that knocked on my door, and I couldn't say no to that opportunity. And throughout the years, my opinion about reclassification has, I'm not going to say changed, but has definitely shifted. And it's a case-by-case situation in my experience with it, because it's worked out where there's kids who've reclassified and they're in college now, where we don't know if they would have made it to college otherwise. What are your thoughts on reclassification and just the student's overall development, not just as a basketball player, but as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, again, positives and negatives. There's certain kids who should, and there's certain kids who shouldn't. And that's another tough factor and decision, that has to go into that. And then who do you trust for that advice, and who do you trust for that info in terms of like reclassifying? I think for some kids, it's necessary. There's a kid I know who was 5'2" as an 8th grader and weighed 140 pounds soaking wet. He was an average student. He didn't really have a great friend circle. His friends were doing things that he probably shouldn't be doing, and he enjoyed basketball. He's actually pretty darn good at it for his size and his age. And he reclassified, and it made a huge difference. He was came 5'8" now going into high school, and 5'7", whatever it was, and had a little bit more maturity under him. He completely changed his friend circle because those kids now went on to high school and he wasn't with them. There was a huge advantage for him to do that, and I think that's definitely ways that. There's definitely reasons why it definitely works. And then there's the other side of it where the kids are just doing it to try to get an extra year behind them. Yeah. When they have to understand it's not great for everybody.
Right.
It's just not great for everybody. There's got to be certain cases where it works and certain cases where it doesn't. I think if your only interest in doing it is to become a better basketball player, I think that's, to me, not the best way to. It's not something you should be doing if it's strictly basketball, because I think a lot of these kids nowadays it's you're putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Yes. You're putting all your eggs in one basket. You're putting a lot of pressure on a 13-year-old kid. They got to make it, they got to, they're losing their friends. They're losing their circle. They're changing teams. They're changing club teams. They're changing schools for a year. Like it's a lot for 1 year, and a lot of pressure to put on a 14, 13, 12-year-old kid to have to go through all that, saying, we're doing a lot of this just so you can get better at sports, just so you can get better at this. And now that kid goes into high school knowing, like, I'm a year older, I'm a year stronger, but I lost all the stuff from the outside. I lost my friend circle. I lost all that stuff that I had, and that's tough. That's tough. And I think like I said, there's positives and negatives to it. Mm-hmm. I think every kid's different. I think every situation's different. Going back to kind of earlier is like, you gotta have a circle of people you can trust, and get advice from them. Find people that are honest and aren't trying to make a buck off your kid.
Right.
They have no skin in the game. They have no financial interest. Get their advice, and just see what they have to say. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need more people in this game. People like you, and there's plenty of other coaches I can name that are doing this. Yeah, some of them make money here and there. But in the end, they're here to help kids. Yeah. They're here to help kids, and that's what we need more of in this game.
Absolutely. I think the important part for a kid who's reclassifying just for basketball to get better has to understand that you actually get better by playing older competition.
Correct.
I always tell kids who reclassify to go play up. If you're going to reclassify, we're not going to keep you in 14U,
right,
playing against kids a year younger than you,
right,
less physically mature than you. Go play up and actually prepare for high school.
Right.
And that's probably the biggest difference that I've learned over these years. When, my first year I had like 4 kids who were like 6'3", 6'6", 6'7", who were doing it. And it was probably for basketball reasons. Yep. They were 4.0 students, and, it was strictly basketball. And now they progressed well. They all ended up going to college and being successful, but I also saw the disadvantage of them getting bored,
right,
playing at their age group, or even in high school,
right,
reclassifying back up to get to where they wanted to go, because they're like, yeah, this is boring now. And so I think that's extremely important to play up, play at a higher level. It's okay for them to fail against somebody older.
It's true.
If you're failing it with 8th graders,
that's true.
You're a reclass. That's tough.
That's true. So, that's true. And I think the other part too that I think parents have got to start to understand is, me and my buddy counted the other day, from taking last year, if you go from pretty much Orange County to the end of the San Fernando Valley in terms of, or even, Ventura County, there was 16, I want to say it was 16, somewhere in that number of kids that got a Division I scholarship for basketball. Wow. And that's thousands and thousands and thousands of kids in that area. I mean, if you think about all those schools and all those high schools, and we don't live in the middle of Idaho. We live in Southern California, where there is a dense population of really good basketball players, and 17 kids got a Division I scholarship. I think parents think everyone's getting Division I basketball scholarships and everyone's getting Division I football scholarships, and they're passing them out. All you got to do is fit this criteria, play at this high school, play for this club team, and you're in. That's not the case. Social media will make it look like that's the case. Right. Everybody's getting offers and everybody's signing and doing all this great stuff. But, look at the transfer portal and then look at how many people are really getting Division I scholarships. It's not everybody. And I think there's a thought that if you go and do this, follow this road again, here's where you're going to end up, and I think that's a hard part for parents to kind of swallow too.
How do you explain that to a parent of somebody who's maybe a highly touted middle schooler coming into your program as a freshman? How do you speak about them, about the road that's ahead of them to reach the goal of playing just college basketball in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I'm not a big goal guy in terms of like team goals, but in terms of individual goals, I'm huge. So I always meet with our kids as soon as they come into school. And we talk about setting a goal, like what are your goals? And of course, every young interested basketball player, play at UCLA, play at Duke. These are my goals. Great, no problem. Let's see if we can get you there. Not saying we can. I never want to tell a kid no. Right. But let's also have other goals. Maybe my other goal is a 4.0 GPA. Maybe my second goal is to play in college. Period. Whether that's Division III, Division II, Division I, NAIA. Let's set goals that we can achieve. Maybe my other goal is to be the school president. To play for a AAU program that has a shoe con. Let's set goals that are somewhat achievable that we can kind of get to. So we're not going 0 for 6 or we're not going 0 for 1, right? If Duke didn't work out for that young man, he failed, and we don't want to have any thoughts of failure. We want to make sure that those goals are so achievable for our guys. And at least we can hit, if we set 10, we're going to hit 8. Maybe Duke's not there, but he's going to play basketball. He's getting a financial package from a college who might be a Division III, Division II, right? And we're getting to that point. And I always try to make sure kids understand too, it's not about just Division I right now. Go look at the basketball world right now and all the transfers we have and all the stuff we have going on. I have a young man who played Division I basketball a couple years ago, and I have a young man who played Division III basketball a couple years ago, both the same year. And they came back, 2 months ago to say what's up and shoot around in the gym and do all that stuff. And the Division III kid actually gets more gear, flies on more planes, and plays a little bit of a tougher schedule than the kid that actually plays Division I. Like their preseason schedule was more difficult than that team. I think everybody thinks Division I, you're flying around on a private jet and you're eating caviar and you're doing all that stuff, when really that's not the case for most. Sure, Kentucky, Duke, the Blue Bloods, that you're getting nice stuff. Yeah, you're doing all that, but the rest of those schools, it's not like that. Sure, it's great, but it's not like that. I think everyone thinks that's the.
So there's D3 schools that fly you around, treat you well, like you're a Division
gear you up,
I program.
Gear. I mean, he had 8 pairs. He's Division III school. He said he had 8 pairs of trainers and basketball shoes, and he's sending gear home to mom, and that's a huge. And the Division I kid said he got 1 pair of shoes the whole year. And that's what people have to start to realize is it's not always about Division I, and
best situation.
Too. And if everyone's dreams the NBA, I never want to tell a kid, hey, you're not going to go to the NBA, right? But hey, if your dream's the NBA, great. The NCAA and the NBA are billion-dollar businesses, right? Yes. If you're good enough, they will find you.
They'll find you.
They will find you. It doesn't matter anymore. They will find you. There's tape on everything. Everything's filmed. Every film's broken down. There's stats on everything. They will find you.
Yeah, the Derek White story, Gabe Vincent,
for sure,
Ben Wallace. You have all these people who made their way to the NBA because they never stopped working.
For sure.
In their situation, they made the best of their situation wherever they were. And speaking of that, so you've seen a lot of talented kids being a Mission League coach, coaching at St. Francis. What separates the ones that are really Division I players, impactful Division I players versus ones who are on a lower level? What do you think that separation is?
It's a great question, first of all, but I think there's a couple things. The first one I would have to go to, they have an elite mindset. Their mindset is different than everybody else's. And you can tell when you play against them, they warm up different, they walk in the gym different. like their mindset is different from the second they walk in that gym. And it's amazing to see. Like you can tell there's a that's a 5-star, that's a 4-star kid. Like and they're 5-star from the second they walk in to the second they leave. And it's not just when they're on the court. And I think that's what separates a lot of those kids is that. I mean, I remember watching Johnny Juzang when he was at Harvard Westlake, and he would walk in the gym like he was the best player in the gym from the second he walked in. And he would, our locker rooms at our school are pretty close. So you can see kind of what the other locker room is and kind of what's going on. He was full sweat, lather. I mean, it looked like he played 2 quarters before the game even started. I mean, he had headphones on, he was jump roping, he was moving, he was sliding, he had bands on. I mean, he got it, and look where he is now. And I think it correlates a little bit. And I've seen those kind of kids, Parker Jackson Cartwright, who was at Loyola, like similar mindset when he walked in the gym. And I think that's definitely the first one. And the second one is those guys, I think the difference is they do everything. Where I've seen plenty of guys that are 25, 30 points a game, right? I mean, you wonder, like, man, he's 28 a game. Like, where's his offers? Why is he not going where he needs to go? He's a rebound a game. He doesn't box out. He doesn't know his help side rotations. He's not running set. Like, he's not running things when late game when the coach wants him to. Like, fourth quarter, they're not going to him to get a bucket late. Like, there's little things that I think coaches see. And then you look at guys like those guys who we can name 10 guys that have gone to the NBA from that league. They do everything. They rebound, they defend, they block shots, they dive on the floor, they take charges, they make a play fourth quarter down by 1, like they make a play. And you can see those things. And I think that's probably the number 2. It just separates them from the other guys. They're not just scorers. Right. They do everything. Yeah. So, and that's definitely pretty unique.
Yeah. No, I think that's great information for people to know, families to know, is because we work so heavily on offensive skill, right, and not about the other parts of the game, right. And so it's important for them to understand all that and to get all that. That it's a holistic approach to basketball, for sure. The mindset piece is so key. I remember speaking to Johnny. It was when he was going into his 10th grade years when he, I think, really turned the corner. He was always serious, always in the gym. He stopped listening to music. He started eating right. He started doing prehab, yoga, all that kind of stuff. It's when he really flipped the switch. Waking up at 5 a.m. And I was like, oh, you're a pro now. I knew when I was like, you're a pro. You're doing things that I don't even know if some pros do. But that was there. And I'm like, oh, that now I know where you're headed. Because you had this realization of your dream and you did everything, all the actions that follow that belief in your dream. And that's what the message is to the kids now. It's like, hey, if you think you're a pro, act like one. For sure. In the classroom, the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, how you speak to anyone. And a lot of middle schoolers don't get that. For sure. And it hits them later. And sometimes it's too late. For sure. Yeah, that window to where you need to become serious about the game to really have an opportunity to play pro or play in the NBA. Right. It happens around 14, 15 nowadays. Right. Right. Unless you're 7 foot. For sure. You have some tools that, you can be a little less developed. For sure. But,
and I think third, if I had to add one more, it's they're good people. Like all those guys that I've seen go through, they're good people. Like I can tell you 5, 6 NBA guys that have come through hey, I'm the opposing coach. What's up, coach? How you doing, man? Like, good to see you. Good luck today. Like, they're good people. They get it. I always tell a story to Anthony Melton, who played at Crespi. Our last time we played him, he came and gave me a hug when the game was over. And it's like, coach, it's been a pleasure to play against you. Always brought a good game plan. No, he didn't have to say that. Whether he's lying or telling the truth, he didn't have to say something like that. And that to me it shows he understands all of it. Yes. And that's, I think, just being a good person too. Like, you don't have to flaunt every time you make a three. You can be a good person and still be successful. Yes. It doesn't have to be all about you.
No, absolutely. So. That's a good transition to our next segment of My Rushmore. Okay, it's your Mount Rushmore. We're going to do your top 4 players that you either coached or coached against. Okay.
Okay, I'm not gonna
say. Let's say coached against.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
let's
say
go coached against because you'll put everybody out. That's
I'm gonna start getting phone calls after this. Yeah,
4 players that you coached against.
Okay,
top 4 of all.
Okay, well I'll go right to. I'm not gonna rank them 1 through 4.
But, yeah, no, it's top 4. Yep.
I'm just gonna go against guys I've coached off the top of my head, and I'm just gonna use D'Anthony Melton as one of them. He was unbelievable. He would like that just go from 0 to hero like within what first minute he wouldn't score, like, oh, okay, we got a good game plan. And all of a sudden it'd be 10 straight. He'd block a shot off the backboard, he'd dive on the floor, he'd take a charge, and the game would be from a 2-point game to a 15-point game like that. And he affected every area of the game. And that's, I think that's so important is he wouldn't just get a bucket. He was every area of the game.
Still doing that in the NBA now.
Shoot.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah,
he is. Crazy. He is. And then 2, I would have to say Tyler Dorsey, as much as he was a thorn in my side. Tyler Dorsey, we lost to them in the finals when he was at Bosco. And then we lost to him again in the finals a couple years after when he was at Maranatha. And he was good. Like he could score, he could rebound. But the thing about him, he could get a bucket when he needed to get a bucket. And he had an innate knack for getting to the free throw line. And it was just, we tried our hardest. We practiced for a day with our hands behind our back in our pockets, trying not to foul him. And he shot 17 free throws in the first half. He had an innate ability just to get a bucket. And then, third, I'll go with the Ball brothers. Can I use all 3?
All 3.
As one?
That's fine. Yes.
Played against them, coached against them twice. And first game we lost by a decent amount. Second game we lost on a buzzer beater. And it was, both games were great. They were challenging. It was a fun environment. They got us ready to play. We had a really good team that year, and we lost them on a buzzer beater. They had a really good team that year, and I just knew from the get go. I think Melo was a freshman. I'm like, this kid is just different. He's just different.
Yes. He's
just different. Again, it was business for him. Like you could tell from the way he warmed up to the way like he was different. And special. So that was, I'd say, the Ball brothers. I'll go with 3. And then with my 4th, I'm going to go with again, well, I don't say brothers, but more Thomas Welsh. He was at Loyola, 7 foot, and coached against him all 4 years when he was at Loyola. He was tough. Played for the Denver Nuggets for a while. Was very impressive. Block shots, rebounded, dunked everything around the rim. Yeah. Just was a force around the basket. So I'm probably missing guys. I'm probably gonna get some DMs or something. You forgot about him, and but these are just off the top of my head. Those are the 4 I would give you.
No, so. That's good. 4, really 6 with the Ball brothers as a whole. So that's all true. Touched the NBA.
Yep. Still
playing professionally, all of them. Yep. And so I think it's a good 4. And,
how about you?
Oh man. Okay. This is
got to make you think a little bit.
I got to think a little bit here. First one, Benny Boatwright.
Okay.
When he's a Village Christian, just 6'10" and can just shoot the ball, man.
Yep.
He rebounded and he never let off the gas,
yep.
actually. And nice kid. He was,
yep.
like you said,
yep.
solid kid,
yep.
awesome kid, still smiles and says hello to this day. And,
yep.
and the way he handled himself in the environment he was in, because they were smacking everybody when they had that team his senior year at Village, and he just would play basketball, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. To see somebody that tall then shooting threes.
Yep.
It was like, this is crazy.
Yep.
This is crazy. So Benny Boatwright, Jordan Cohen at Campbell Hall. This is our second year at Heritage. He cooked us for 16 points in the first quarter so quick. Just put it on us, and we could not get over that hump.
Good player.
His poise, I coached him when he was a freshman, actually, when I was at Campbell Hall. And so his poise and his maturity always stood out to me. He's playing pro over in Israel now.
Yep.
I think he just won the championship or headed to the Series A championship. But I always just loved his game and how competitive he was. Third, T.A. Clark.
Okay.
Just because of to be as short as he is and the things he can do on the court, the control and the defense and the passing and the everything he did, it was just so much respect because I've seen him work hard. I think I'm a little biased. I've seen him since he was maybe 8 years old, just working. He's just always in the gym working, and
Yep.
you would know he was good, but you never knew how good he could be until he got that opportunity to be great on
8 years old, but probably playing 10U, 11U.
Oh yeah, he was playing against high school. I met him at 360 Gym. He used to run with us in the runs,
100%.
and we used to beat him up because he was little, but you could tell he was
100%.
going to be all right.
100%.
And yeah, he just the things he did and how he played. He's probably one of my favorite point guards of all time. Him and Larry Drew actually, but
okay,
I didn't get to see him. Okay, so is it Tyler Dorsey? It might be Tyler Dorsey. I'm trying to think. I know I'm missing out on people, but Tyler Dorsey.
Okay.
Yeah, we held him to 1 point, 1 quarter. Then he had 39 in the rest. We thought we were doing something.
Yeah.
And like you said, he got to the free throw line. He offensive rebound. Yep. He was just a bucket and just kept pouring it on us and had a smile on his face the whole time he did it.
Yep.
He loves basketball.
Yep.
And just to see that. But yeah, from high school, I know I'm forgetting somebody, but those 4 are the ones who stood out the most.
Cool.
Guards.
Good list.
Well, Benny Boatwright, kind of a guard, but yeah, that's the 4.
That's great.
Now, seeing all that, where do you think basketball is going? It's become a lot more positionless, a lot more focused on skills and development and all these things. With everybody has their trainer, everybody has their own strength coach, everybody has access to these resources, but the market is flooded, in my opinion, right? With the club teams and all these things. Where is basketball going, and how does a kid or a family, we talked about it a little bit, getting the right advice, but what else can they do to really put their kid in a position to win in what they're doing to excel and develop? What do you think that looks like?
I mean, going back to the 3 things we talked about earlier, I think that's part of it. I think the other part is making sure your kid has other avenues. One thing, I have a great player I'm coaching right now. Got a lot of Division I offers, but he's very balanced in a lot of the things he does. Like he has a stock portfolio, and he's into fashion, and he's into other things. And I think having that balance with your son or your daughter is so important too, because they're gonna burn out. Like it's a grind. Like being that good for that long at that level, and having your sole number one purpose be a sport it's a grind. Like it's a grind. Shoot, coaches go through it too. Like it's a grind. Having time off, taking a vacation, taking a mental break, being into other things. You can focus on your sport. Shoot, 20 hours a day for but maybe take a day and do some other things. You don't have to go 7 days a week. You're going to be okay if you miss a day and you decide to go hang out with some friends and do some other things. Maybe you're into art or you're into something else. Like have a balance. And I think that's an extremely important thing. I think that's one of the things I hope parents kind of like take a little bit of that advice is like it's okay to take a day. 99% of these parents are pushing their kid to grind. Yet their parents can't, the parents can't wait till Friday at 5 when that clock is over and they can have their 2 days to unwind, right? Like everybody looks forward to that. Like your kids need to look forward to having that Sunday or that whatever day you want to have it for them to kind of go into other avenues and be successful. And then I think too, having your kid fail, whatever the word failure actually really means, but having your kid go through adversity, having your kid deal with a coach that's tough for a while, having your kid be able to deal with mom, dad, this teacher is giving me a hard time. Okay, you need to here's the steps you need to deal with it first before we get involved. My coach is doing this. Okay, that's fine. Your coach is hard on you. Your coach wants the best out of you. Here's the steps you need to follow before we have to get involved. Before I'm going to even open my mouth to your coach. And having your kid deal with some type of adversity. It's okay to lose every once in a while. It's okay to not have a number 1 ranking. As a 6th grader, like it's okay. Like
can't believe they rank 6th graders.
When you're number 1, what else do you have to look forward to? My parents always tell me, when I got my first car was $500 if I was lucky, in terms of how much I probably, they cost them. And I was always mad because I had all these friends that were getting all these nice cars and, doing all these nice things. My parents always told me, if you have the nicest from the start and you have the best from the start, what are you going to look forward to? How hard are you going to work? And I think, playing on the best club team and being ranked and having yourself ranked as whatever, and having all this stuff and millions of Instagram followers, like, what do you have to look forward to? What are you striving to do? Instead of you take the other kid who doesn't have that, doesn't play on that top club team, and doesn't have the best facilities to train in and rankings and all this stuff, that kid's going to have a lot more drive, to get to where he wants to go, and I think that's so important, is having adversity, dealing with that, and not being like everybody else. So.
Yeah, no, I love that. The adversity one is the one that just, you see these kids and the opportunities, and I'm going to say privileges they have as kids to work out in a gym every day.
Yep.
We had to work out outside.
For sure.
To have a trainer and to do all these things. And when they do not only have to fight through those moments of conflict, but also when they misbehave, take those things away.
For sure.
Make them appreciate and value the resource that you are.
For sure.
I've had parents tell me, "Oh, we don't take basketball away. We'll take his phone. We'll do this. We won't take basketball away." I'm like, "Well, you're going to continue to see this behavior
for sure
until you really take what they love away."
That's the most important.
And it's like, even if they make it to college, when they get to college, they're going to have this hard moment of either lack of appreciation or not being able to handle that adversity.
Right.
And it's going to set them back all the way back to that moment.
Right.
To where you didn't get ahead of it.
100%.
And so allowing that to happen is super important. And I like what you said about having multiple things that they're interested in and all that. I think playing multiple sports until high school is super important. I always promote. At first I didn't. I was like, basketball only when I was a young, dumb trainer. And then I realized the kids that ran track, that played a little baseball, played a little flag football, man, it balances them out. And it helps them in basketball in the long run.
100%.
It gives them a different feel, a different look, a different friend group to deal with,
That's
different attitudes, and they get to relate to people different and understand different cultures and teams.
Right.
And how you can bring that into basketball, because though basketball is a team game and it's supposed to be, it's become so individualized.
Right.
You can't do that in football.
Right.
You can't do that in soccer.
You're 100%
you can't do that in all these other sports that you participate in.
Right.
So it brings that team piece to it.
And I think too, like, don't do what all your friends are doing. I think that's another important one. Like, well, everybody's going to this tournament. Like, who says that's the tournament you have to go to? Like, everyone's going to this school, or you don't have to follow the steps of everybody else. Like, going back to, every kid is different. Every situation is different. So many parents and so many kids have just this FOMO of like, if I don't do what they're doing, I'm going to fall behind. Like, no, you're not. Take a deep breath. You're not, sometimes playing on a club team where it's not as good, but you have to rebound and you have to play defense and you have to score and you have to
play basketball,
or you're not going to win. Like put that pressure on your son, instead of playing a game where he or she doesn't have a good one, but they still win by 30. Like, I feel like there's more to the other side of it. So I agree with you.
No, I love that. The club team thing gets me. Just playing on a higher level club team with the shoe and all that. Being on the bench, just playing 8 minutes versus playing at another place where you can get valuable experience, play competitive, and
for sure
develop your game when you're on that circuit.
100%.
Especially until you're a sophomore, because college coaches can't even talk to you until then. So you've been watching the NBA playoffs,
of course.
All right, where do you think, are you a Lakers fan?
Of course.
Okay, awesome. Lakers fan. What do you think? Last night was interesting to me. I seen the LeBron that we've been seeing for the first quarter. And it looked like he tweaked his ankle. I think that's what happened. He tweaked his ankle and tried to play through it. And you saw his age finally catch up with the injury.
Yeah.
And he was trying to find the mental capacity to get through it.
Yep.
And the physical almost took over.
Yep.
The first time you kind of seen that, right?
Yep.
My hope, this is my belief, it's unfortunate at this point. I said for the Lakers to win this series, AD has to have a good game every game, win or loss. He had a bad game and a loss, which makes me feel like I don't want it to happen, but Denver's going to win this series just because of yesterday, because of AD.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the series? What did you think about last night? What are your thoughts on
I thought last night was, it's NBA is such a production where, like, I don't want this to come off bad, but like, not every game means as much as I think people want it to mean.
Right.
Like, yeah, sure, every game's important. You got to win them, right? Like, you're trying to win, and you're trying to, like, it's a 7-game series. Like, the series doesn't really start, I feel like, until somebody beats somebody at home, So I feel like You're going to lose a couple games. Like, the Lakers weren't going to go in there and sweep them, and I don't think the Nuggets are going to come to LA and sweep us. Like, it's just there's so much that has to go into it, and you really only got to win one game on the other person's home court, unless you're obviously the Nuggets. You can win them all at home, but like they just got to get one.
Yes,
they got to get one, and they'll have two more opportunities, assuming they win the next two, hopefully. And I think there's just the adjustments constantly every game, the seriousness of like, okay, like, we got to start ramping it up. Now we're down 0-2. I think is interesting. And then I think the second part about it is like we as basketball fans, whether you hate him or you love him, like LeBron is this like Superman, take my cape off. Like we don't see him as being invincible, right? Like at some point in time, LeBron's going to save us. Like at some point in time, he's going to rip off his jersey and he's going to have a cape on, right? And I think we get to a point where it's like he is, him and I are the exact same age. Like, shoot, I hurt a little bit when I wake up, and I do not do as much as LeBron does.
Right.
I can only imagine what his body's going through and what his mental state is going through. So we're going to see a little bit, as sad as it is, like we're going to see a little bit of wear and tear and a little bit of a step back. I still like have this belief that he's going to rip this, that he's going to come back in the next game and have that, just because I feel he's done so much for the game of basketball and he's so good. But I think, we're starting to see a little bit of it. You're right. Like you're starting to see a little like, man, he might be a step slow. I don't know if the altitude has something to do with it, that they're up there, and he mentioned it before game one. He's like, man, the altitude, it's real. He said it's real. Yeah. And, maybe when he gets to LA, he'll get a little more lung capacity. And, it's your second part with AD. He's the key. He's the key to the Lakers. Yes. LeBron's arguably the best player, but he's the key. We go as where AD goes. And, I don't think he had a horrible game last game. It just wasn't an AD playoff.
Yes. What we needed from him, he needs to get over 20 points, at least, like just bare minimum. And I know it's hard playing defense. He's in there. They're all trying to guard Jokic, and he's just a monster. And they got so many weapons. So I don't devalue that his efforts on defense aren't there. It's just he's guarding an MVP candidate. Like
maybe one of the best players ever.
Right. Yeah. And so you have to, and Jokic is so smart, and he's not using his athleticism to do anything. He's just playing the game perfectly. It's just chess match, and so I think they can pull it out. I do. I have hope.
Yep.
I need everyone to step up. They need to give the ball to Rui more.
Yeah.
Just let him rock out too. Like the guy getting buckets. So keep on giving it to him.
And our point guard's got to step up. Schroeder and Russell, whether it's one or both, like we got to get something out of that position. Yeah. We got to get something out of that position. And I think, having that third punch, that third option, Rui and Austin Reeves are doing what they can, but those one of those two got to step up for the Lakers. So.
I've already called Russell out so many times on this thing because he's so talented.
Yeah.
And that trigger didn't switch yet. The maturity. You can still see it in his game. Like, he's right there. He's still young. He's 25, 26. So he's still there where it's time, though. Yep. And this is that moment where, hey, man, like, don't point to your vein just one time after you make a three. Just one time and get to the next play. Start thinking about what you need to do to win. Not saying that he's not, because I respect his game. I respect his talent. I respect all NBA players because they're good. I just want to see the seriousness in which he approaches the game, where LeBron's is, where Austin Reeves is. So,
we talked about earlier with the high school kids. That's what separates you, right?
Right.
It's like having that seriousness from the second you walk into the gym to the second you go home.
Yeah.
So
he's having fun with this. So,
I agree.
If I'm making $25 million a year shooting threes, I have fun too. But playoff time. Let's put our big boy pants on. All right. So there's a segment of our show where we hop in the DeLorean, we go back to a time in history. We're going to go back to March 2019 or 2020.
2020.
Yeah. So we're going back to March 2020. Rudy Gobert at a press conference. Touching the mic. I think it was such a pivotal time. In history, right? But specifically basketball. As you brought up earlier, it was a pivotal time. Go back to that day, that time. Where were you guys? You and your team and that old blunder.
Man. I'll have to make sure I go back to my therapist after this one again. But that was a rough one. I mean, I remember I was on the phone with Southwest trying to book 21 flights Sacramento. We were on our way to the state championship. And we're literally, kid you not making it up, on the phone with Southwest, talking to a group agent who's trying to book, you can't just go on the website and book 21 flights. So trying to book 21 flights to Southwest, trying to organize a bus. And I'm literally sitting there on the phone, and I see Gobert, this whole thing with he's touching the mics and he's coughing and he's pretending and then the bottom, it says, I think it was the Pelicans and the Kings in Sacramento was going to be canceled like halfway through the game. And literally my heart just sunk. I'm like, there's no way they're going to cancel an NBA game and then let a bunch of high school kids come in 4 days later.
Right.
And I was like, man, this is, just start praying to whoever you're believing in. And, like it was just such a pivotal time, for our team. We were headed to the state championship, that the very next day. We got called on our way, literally backpacks to the bus. We're like, we're going to pretend like this is all going to happen because we have to, right? We don't want to go up there, not go up there. And then God forbid they say, all right, we're going to play. And we're getting phone calls, from parents, are they going to let parents in? Are they going to, what's going to happen? And then we see the Ivy League shut down basketball and all athletics. And at that point, we knew we were done. And I think it just changed. It changed how I coach. It changed a lot about how I believe. I take. I was telling my fiance 2 days ago. We had a great practice a couple of days ago, and I told her, I said, I love coaching basketball. I love what I do. Like, and I'm so fortunate that we are able to coach. And I think that time that we all had when we had to sit in our homes, and especially from a coaching standpoint, like we really didn't. I don't think we really appreciated how much we love the game, and like how much we enjoy helping kids and coaching hoops and being a part of that path for a lot of these guys. Maybe selfish as you want to call it, but like I'm in the gym coaching and I got a smile on my face, and that got taken away from us. I'm sure similar to you. So I do appreciate the game a lot more from going through that experience and really understanding like we're very fortunate to be doing what we're doing and helping kids and being a part of a sport that we, love. So that was a huge pivotal point for me. I'm sure it was for a lot of basketball guys, but yeah.
I can imagine just on your way to the state championship. Yeah. And so with his 2 could have and probably should have been 3 at that moment too. And that, I think in our hearts here in Southern California, you're an honorary state champion that year, man. For sure. Yeah. Along with, Sierra Canyon was on their way to the Open.
There was a lot of teams. It wasn't just selfishly, it wasn't just us,
Yeah, no, it was just crazy to see that it's literally the last game of the season. We're just like, push it through. Like, let's play this last game and get through it. And not to be able to see that, and those kids, right? Those kids fought so hard to get to that moment. Yep. And I'm sure that's what hit the most was that these kids who worked for this opportunity, never got to see it all the way through. Yep. And so that is probably an amazing job that you had to do just to counsel rough, and
a lot of tears.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And so, good job, Coach.
Well, thanks. Well, it's actually cool. My dad actually, he did a huge. He kind of knew something was coming. Okay. So we played our game before as a regional finals. Yeah. And we were at home, and he said, "Hey, you might want to just cut down the nets after this game's over, just in case you don't play."
Oh, good move.
And I'm like, I don't know, that's superstitious. Like, and we did, and that to a lot of our guys is like their last memory. I think that was a good thing. So finding wins when you can't always find them is important. So
I guess the Southern California regional champion is good too. Especially down here, like you said, with a lot of talent, density, all that good stuff. So that's awesome. You have value in this area for other coaches who are trying to get to your level, become a state champion coach. Just a few things that you would tell them to focus on if they're a young coach or if they're even a more seasoned coach who haven't reached that level. What do you see most coaches need to get to that level?
I think, little loaded question. I'm gonna need more than 24 for this
you're
one.
Good.
But I think one of them is, and I know this might sound weird, is professionalism. Mm-hmm. I think as a coach, you got to be professional. You can say I'm old school, call it what you want, but when we coach, you'll never see me in a t-shirt. You'll always see me in a polo. You'll always see my kids picking up trash when the games are over. You'll never see me cussing at refs. You'll never, you'll see my guys. We're gonna do community service. Like, we're gonna be professional in every aspect of what we do. And I think coaches have to model that behavior. There's a lot of antics out there. A lot of coaches that are trying to, make sure it's about them. be professional in what you do. You know, we're going to go play in section 7 in Arizona, which is a huge tournament for high school kids. And they actually have a code of conduct for coaches, what you have to wear, the kind of things you're allowed to say, if you cuss, you know, and that stuff's important. You know, that stuff's important. It goes a long, long way. And I think being a professional is going to get you in a lot of doors. You know, people know ADs and parents and I think a good amount of, you know, people that are hiring and making big decisions, that they notice character and they notice professionalism. And I think being professional, I think we're starting to lose a little bit of that. You know, and then number 2 is, and this might sound weird, but you don't have to win a championship every year to have success. You know, there can't be, some places it's championship or bust, and that's great. That's their deal. I want to win a championship every year. I want to win every game I coach. But it's not realistic. It's not realistic. We talk about adversity and fighting against things. Like there's some be said, and there's fun in, and we lost. Like we got to figure out why we're losing, you know, what we can do. And now we win, and we see the success of hard work and making changes and things like that. And a lot of times it's putting pressure on yourself or administration putting pressure. Like you don't have to win a championship every year and have success. Like that is not the definition of success, in my opinion, is having a championship. They're great. I won a bunch of them, and it's fun. It's not the end all be all. I've had plenty of teams that have been, you know, 20-15, and we lost in the second round of playoffs, and we had a great season for us. Like we had a great time. We had a great season, a great group of kids. They're going to universities and getting scholarships and academics and basketball, and there's something to be said about that, you know? And then I think the third one is use other like find other coaches, find mentors that are going to help you. You know, I have plenty of mentors myself that I call all the time. Like, hey, I don't know what to do about this. What do you think? You know, and I've been doing this now. This is year 16, being a varsity coach. Like I'm calling these guys all the time, asking for advice and asking for opinions and sending them film. And I think that's important, is find some mentors that are going to help you and give you advice. We don't know everything. I don't know everything. Shoot, I probably know a quarter of, you know, what's half of these guys even know. So I think, you know, making sure we have mentors that can help us and guide us is so, so, so important. And being humble enough to ask for help, right? I think a lot of times, and this, you know, goes back to a lot of the mindset and mental health stuff, like being able to ask for help is a huge tool that coaches and people have to be able to do. Ask for help. It's okay to call somebody and say, hey man, I need advice. I don't know what I'm doing here. You know, and I think there's people, you know, coaches like helping people, whether they like helping kids, whether they like helping coaches, they enjoy helping people. So I think that's important to be able to ask for that.
Absolutely. So you got 24-second shot clock. Let me know, or let the people know, anything that you want to tell them just about what you have going on, or, you know, where they can find you. We'll have all your handles and everything in the description. Okay. Todd Wolfson's an awesome Twitter follow. So tell us your handle and then anything else you want the people to know.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I appreciate you having me. This is awesome. I actually saw your thing on just scrolling through a feed of Instagram, and video popped up. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And, you know, I'm glad I'm on it, and I appreciate you having me. I am on Twitter. I'm at SFHS Hoops. I don't have a personal Instagram. I just kind of use our school Instagram. I'm in charge of social media for our school, so I use our school Instagram. And then, you know, you can Google me and find a bunch of podcasts and advice things. And I guess I would tell basketball players and families, like, reach out if you need advice. I will help anybody that needs advice. Reach out. You know, I have no skin in the game. I don't need your son to come to my school or pay you a fee to train them or get advice. I'll help you out for nothing. Whether my advice is correct or not, so be it. But, you know, I'm going to give you the best of my knowledge and advice, whatever advice I can give. So, cool.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
Anytime. Come back.
Appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Thank you.